Good morning, good afternoon, good night. Welcome to another scene for Living Word of Darkness, New York by Night, Vampire Venue. Tonight we start the scene in the bunker, as usual, because nothing ever changes. Arthur has invited the newest recruit to meet him in his office to just chat to her, get to know her a little bit, because he actually realised that it was probably an information overload the other day. So he'll send a message, which she'll get to say, come to this room. And that's where we start the scene, with her turning up to the room.
Kate walks up to the room and peeks around the corner to see if Arthur is really there.
Yeah, he's there. He's sat at the desk with his glasses on.
She kind of awkwardly enters the room as she asks, "You sent me a message?"
He stands up. Your character has a last name, doesn't she? She's
Daniels.
Miss Daniels. He says, smiling. And taking off his glasses. Yes, I sent for you. Please come in.
Kate enters the room and walks towards Arthur.
He indicates for her to sit down. There's like a chair next to his.
Kate sits down politely.
He sort of feels a little bit like he's a school teacher pulling somebody in. He's just like, with the way she's acting kind of awkwardly, he's just like, just looking at her like, yeah, I'm the headmaster, and well, I'm pulling you in to talk about your grades. No, he looks at her. He's kind of like a scholarly type gentleman, so you might get that impression that he probably is like a teacher. Well, the professor thing probably gives it away.
Mm-hmm.
There's lots of books around this room and lots of papers with scribblings on them and things you don't really quite understand. Things that are written in, like, unless you have an engineering degree, things that are written in different languages. And he looks at you and he smiles and he says, "How are you settling in?"
Yesterday was quite overwhelming, but after I was directed to my room, all the information kind of settled down a bit.
That's good. It's very daunting having all this new information to process. I don't see that everyone shouting it at you would do you any good. It will take you time to get used to it, as it did for everyone.
It's fine. I think there are a lot of kindred who are willing to help me, which makes it a lot easier to just be locked up in here.
Yes. Well, we must work together. I consider myself an educator. I'm more than happy to help people with anything they need me for. He sort of puts his hands together a little bit, trying to seem unintimidating to her. So he's just, why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself? How did you end up here? I know that Mole brought you.
Mole found me. I usually hang around outside, but this day I decided to go to the bar because after all I just turned 21. Well, at least in my human lifetime I would have turned 21. And Mole was at the bar as well, and he introduced himself and told me that he might be able to help me get what I want most.
Arthur raises a brow curiously, but decides not to ask what she wants most, because it seems impolite.
Towards the end of her sentence, she said she was kind of slumping down, kind of expecting Arthur to ask about what she wants or why Mole approached her. So she's really relieved that he doesn't pressure it or doesn't pursue the topic. So she kind of relaxes.
Just make a very quick roll. Don't want to interrupt you. I've got one success. Basically, it's a 10 as well. So, actually, I've got 2 successes. I forgot about my merit. You get the Arthur's basically, he's not using a discipline on you, but he is making the effort to display his body language as non-threatening, non-invasive, relaxed. You get a kind of sense of calmness and non-judgment from him.
Kate curiously looks up and sees how Arthur is, well, almost studying her, I would say.
He's smiling at her, like he seems really interested in what she has to say, but yeah.
And she decides it would be best to question him about himself as well, so that they both know each other on, well, at least some ground. So Kate asks, how did you end up here?
Well, why? Sire sent me here, my maker.
Did he order you against your will?
No, she, I was with her for some time, and then she decided it was time for me to be independent, as all of us eventually become, and usually we stay with our sires for a while, and then they release us, like parents release their children, to go and do their own thing. She decided that it would be a good idea for me to learn, and New York is where she sent me. It was before the war.
Kate looks kind of bitter while Arthur tells her this.
He looks sort of like sad, not sad, but like sympathetic.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, I understand that some people have less conventional entries into this life. You're not alone. I know at least 2 other people here that have not had the guidance that they deserved.
Kate kind of looks relieved at that. Just the fact that she knows she's not the only one that experienced what she experienced in her life up till now. Kate looks at Arthur and asks, what is it that you do in here?
Oh, I'm the War Master, the absolute peak of Arnold Schwarzenegger style violence and decay. He says with a wink.
Kate kind of laughs at it. I thought that much.
Oh yes, no, I am. I'm a little bit of a jack of all trades. I make weapons.
Kate kind of perks up at that. What kind of weapons?
He reaches into his jacket, takes out a handgun, which has been specially crafted, puts it on the desk in front of him. And then he stands up and he goes, takes a steak out of the drawer. He also produces a small knife.
Kate tries to keep eye contact with Arthur, but it's obvious that she feels drawn towards the weapons as she keeps sneaking glances at it, but she doesn't want to be impolite and just grab them.
He indicates for her to take them if she wants, because he can see her thirsty look.
Kate asks, "Can I really?"
Oh, yes, you can, my dear. Go ahead.
Kate takes up the knife and inspects it.
It's
Holds it
beautifully.
in her hand.
It's a beautifully made knife. The handle especially is. It looks like the handle's been designed to give you more power over holding it. It's nicely balanced.
Kate tosses it up in the air, makes it swirl and catches it, and after that she aims and throws it at the doorpost.
Why don't you make a dex? I think you have to make dex firearm for throwing stuff. I'm not sure. Why don't you make a dex firearms or a dex roll? See what.
Just my dex or dex melee?
Melee is when you're
firearm?
dex firearms. When you're throwing things, I'm pretty sure it's firearms.
Okay, that's 4 dice then.
Hopefully you don't botch and hit Arthur.
Well, I wasn't pointing at you, so
it just goes into someone's head at the corridor. Ah!
2 successes.
Yeah, I think you're fine. It goes into the post. And Arthur just sort of like stands to the does that thing where someone throws something you're not expecting it. He's just like puts his hands up.
Kate looks really happy about the fact that it's a knife that throws that well, and she compliments him. And she says, "It really is a well-balanced knife."
Oh, thank you. He says, doing a flourishy bow. Sort of slightly flamboyantly.
Kate goes towards the knife and, takes it out of the doorpost and puts it back on the desk and asks, "Can I look at the gun?"
You can.
Okay.
The gun looks quite heavy.
Can I pick it up?
You can.
Okay. Kate inspects it from all sides.
It's a gun that shoots shotgun shells.
Ooh. Okay. Kate decides that it wouldn't be in her best interest to fire this indoors.
You can see that you can. I mean, what is your firearm skill?
1.
It's a. You guess that if you. I mean, you don't know much about guns, but if you guess that it's it doesn't take a scientist to work out. It's got big enough shells. If you fire this at someone, it would blow their fucking head off.
Okay, no shooting the gun inside.
But it looks like it's been modified to fire shotgun shells.
Okay.
Rather than it's obviously been modified. It's not you don't just get these guns flying around. All of these items are handcrafted. You can see the signature.
Mm-hmm. They look all beautiful. The only thing I can craft is a dagger or a knife out of a rusty nail. So if I'm able to fight with these weapons, that would be great.
He smiles at her and he says, "Well, I'm sure you have more than one talent, dear. You don't need to sell yourself too short." But is she carrying the sword with her that she has in her picture?
Yeah, she always has some kind of weapon on her, a dagger that's hidden or the sword. But she usually keeps it with her at all time.
If she's carrying the sword, he'll look at it.
She looks over her shoulder to follow his stare and realizes that he's looking at her sword. She's kind of hesitant to give it to him, but she figured he's been so gracefully to let her play with his toys that it would be only natural for her to return a favor.
Does she hand it to him?
Yeah, she pulls it out and hands it to him, hilt first.
He takes it as if he's holding something very precious. He doesn't grab it off her or snatch it off her. He just takes it very carefully.
He better not.
No, he takes it very, very, very carefully. And he looks at it. He sort of holds it up slightly. And then he reaches for something on the desk. It's a small, it looks like a magnifying glass, kind of, like a little optical thing. And he puts it up to his eye, and he looks at the metal. Fascinating. Yes, I could make you another one, and I could improve on this slightly.
It's really dear to me. I would rather have you improve on this one than having another sword to fight with.
I'll tell you what, why? Because I don't want to risk damaging it in any way. Not to say that I would, because I'm very, very good at what I do, but there's always a risk whenever you take apart something to recreate. I will make you a new hilt for the sword, which will improve its durability somewhat, and I will experiment with metals at a later date.
Kate looks happy at this and steps closer towards Arthur and asks happily, would you really do that for me?
I'm going to make a roll. I'm sorry about this, but this is how the character...
Don't stab me.
This is how the character is, and if she slaps him in the face, that'll be perfectly acceptable.
That might happen because she's kind of hot-headed.
He doesn't do anything. He doesn't by which I mean he doesn't do anything physical. He doesn't touch you. He doesn't. But he gives you this kind of charismatic smile. He lowers his tone of voice slightly. It's kind of that was a charisma empathy roll, and he just says, "My dear, it would be my pleasure."
Kira kind of tilts her head at that, but doesn't respond to it. She thinks
he hands about the sword.
She thinks if he's gracious enough to do this for me, I won't complain about anything.
He hands it to... Yeah, he hands her the sword back.
And Kira resheaths it.
So, I take it you're going to be joining the war coterie. Is that your intention?
It is.
You are skilled. Did you have a military history before you came to this life?
Not really. I gained my experience from the past 3 years living on the streets and surviving.
He smiles. You should speak with a member of your coterie. She's called Carmen. I believe if you two would have a lot in common. She learned skills like you did when she had to run away from some nasty people.
Kira looks like if she's trying to remember the name that you just told her, so that she can ask around later to see who this person is.
She's Mexican. Very charming, slightly shy though. Also, there is a lady. She's called Nikki. She's a veterinarian. She stays with me. She had an unfortunate start as well, but sure, all these unfortunate beginnings will make a better tapestry for when we are successful against the Sabbat. We are all different in our different ways, but we are allies. So you're part of a unit now. You're part of a family.
As Arthur says the word Sabbat, Kate's lip kind of curls up. But apart from that, she doesn't show any agitation.
Well, I dare say that you are in good hands. My clanmate Lucius is the head of the war coterie, and he's a very experienced soldier, though a little bit on the short-tempered side, as you saw yesterday when he shouted at you.
I think I had that one coming.
He smiles. I wish you good luck. And I will start working on this for you. And you know that if you have any concerns, you can come and share them with me.
Kate walks towards the door and turns towards Arthur and says, "Thank you a lot for taking the time to talk to me and ease my mind, and for offering to improve on my sword."
He bows his head sort of slightly. You're welcome.
Kate smiles at that. Kate smiles at that. And just for the fun of it, because she kind of is on to Arthur about his, well, overly flamboyant ways and charismatic handling, she kind of makes a curtsy towards him.
He grins.
And then she opens the door and says, "Thanks again," and exits the room.
He smiles and he stands up to close the door behind her, sits down at the desk and chuckles to himself a little bit because he's just like, someone that's not so easy to persuade. That'd be interesting. A challenge. That'll be the moment with the end. Yeah, totally. He's a total slut. That'll be the moment we end our scene. Thank you, player, for playing. Thank you, watchers, for watching. Until next time.